Okay, so in this series of videos, we're going to look at how to create a multi-user chat application. So at the end of the series of videos, we're going to have a complete working version of a multi-user chat system. But in this video, we're going to start from the beginning. So in this video, we're going to look at how to create a prototype for the chat server, because in a multi-user chat system, you're going to have multiple clients. So you're going to have a central server that the clients communicate with. What you see on the screen, I already have a project created for this application called multi-user chat, and in that application I'm going to create multiple modules which represents the server and the client piece. So let's go ahead and create two modules, one for the server and then one for the client. So I'm going to create the server first. I'm going to name this module called the chat server. So I'm going to create another module, and that will be the one for the client. I'll call it chat client. Okay, so now we have two modules, one chat server and one for the chat client. In this video, we just focus on the chat server, how we can create a simple working chat server. Alright, so I'm going to create a class called server main, and this will be the entry point for my server application. Alright, so I'm going to just create this main program. When you create a chat server, it's basically a network server. So in order for us to create a network server, we have to create something called a server socket. And the parameter to a server socket is a port. Alright, so in this case, let us define a port, and we'll use this port as 8818. Okay, so here I can pass that port into the instance of server socket and do some exception handling. Okay, so once we set up a server, we can then call this accept method. This accept method is the one that actually creates the connection between the server and the client. This accept is going to return us a socket, and this socket represents the connection to the client. That's why I call it the client socket. And then you need to put this in a loop, because you're going to continuously accept the connections from the client. Main purpose of a server socket is to basically start to accept connections from connecting clients. And each time that you call accept, it actually returns a new client socket. If there are no connections, this accept will block. So that's why we do this in a while loop. For the sake of just proving that it works, what we're going to do is we're going to print out something to the client socket and then close that client socket connection. Right, and the way that we do that is every socket has a output stream, and what we're going to do is we're going to just print out some string to this output stream. Okay, so now we can run this. Okay, so it's running, and I'm going to use my terminal. I'm going to use a program called Telnet to check to see if my server is working, because here the second parameter to Telnet is going to be my port, and that's going to match whatever port I defined in my program. So here you can see that it actually connected, print out this hello world, which is actually the same string that right here that we are writing to the socket, and then finally closes it. That's why you see that it's got closed by the foreign host, right, which is the server itself. So this is the beginning of a simple chat server. So here we created a server socket which passed it a port which we define as 8188. In the server socket, you always have to call accept, which will accept any client connections from the server. So let's put more debug statements so you can see this working. Okay, so I added two printout statements, one before we accept the connection and one showing that we actually accepted the connection. Okay, so now if I do this again, so you can see that this accept is going to block until we actually create a connection to that server. And so let's see what happens when we do use the telnet. So right now we're going to print out where this connection is coming from. So you can see that it actually says accept the connection from socket, and then this address, and then this port, which is the client port, and then this is going to be the server port. After that, it's going to do it again. So this while loop is going to keep executing until we actually terminate the program.